Peace and blessings, family. It's yours truly, Amari. I am the founder of El Kebalan Uni Alliance, where we focus on your spiritual, your physical, and your financial well-being. My queen, Amani Mari, she is the co-founder. And we thank everybody for their continued love and support. We also thank everybody for going to our YouTube channel, El Kebalan Uni Alliance. And we thank everybody for who has subscribed. We greatly appreciate that. I want to say grand rising to the queen of my heart, my blessing, Queen Amani Amari. I appreciate your continued love and support, beautiful. Thank you so much. You're the best woman I've ever been with in my life. And I love you, sweetheart. I want to send a shout out to my good sister from back home in Rochester, New York, Queen Dashanice in the building. Thank you so much, sis, for your continued support. And family, today's topic of discussion for the mastermind session will be, think about it, because today I'm going to make a lot of statements that will be thought-provoking for some. Also, it will be challenging for some as well on today, because those of you who come on this program, this is the reason why it's called the mastermind session. Is for you to master your mind. I truly believe that you live the way that you think. Okay, you live the way that you think. Your mind is the command center to your life. Your mind is what channels how you view life and how you view yourself overall. How you conduct yourself. I want to say grand rising to Queen Mother Rhonda Harrison. Appreciate you, Mother. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing and inviting. We definitely greatly appreciate all your love and support. Remember, this is an empowering session. Okay, this is not about fame. You know, it's about bringing transformation to all of our lives. As I speak to some of you, at the same time, I am speaking to myself. The truth is a mirror. And the reflection that you see is exactly what it is when it comes to the truth, when it comes to facts. Unfortunately, some of us, we run away from that. We don't want to face the mirror of truth. We want to look into the mirror of lies because we want to see what we want to see. That being said, that's what we're going to talk about on today. We're just going to talk about some things that has been weighing heavy on my heart. Okay, this is not me taking shots at anybody, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm taking shots at a particular group of people, because I'm not. Okay, this is just from my observation. This is not a venting session. Let it be known also, it's not a venting session. Okay, it's just some things for us to ponder about when we get off to ourselves or for a group discussion after this meeting is adjourned on today. So if you would be so kind to share and invite this transmission, that'll be great. I'm getting ready to go in. As my queen and I, we've discussed within these last few days, we had conversed about our life, our spiritual life and our natural life. And what I recognize is that sometimes there is a challenging of a person's love for their people because they're not capable of doing certain things at a particular time. I like to utilize this analogy. How can a person who has 2 broken legs help a person who has 1? Neither of those individuals are in any position for them to help out the next man because of their dilemma that they're in at that time. I hear a lot of people being challenged about our people not wanting to go back to Africa because they're not committed to the people. They just want to stay here because they're more comfortable here. And I have a problem with that. Here's the problem with that. How can we expect our people to move to another continent when they can't even move to another city or another state? How can we expect our people to want to uproot and leave and go to another continent when they don't even have the resources to do so? I want you to think about this for a moment, because sometimes, we talk like as if though things happen overnight. And you're talking about the scattering of people's minds and the scattering of people physically as well throughout the world. And to bring people that has been scattered throughout the diaspora, who has been brainwashed, how do we expect for everybody just to come together like that overnight? A lot of us, we don't even know who we are personally. So how can we identify each other? How can we say that's our brother and our sister when, first of all, we don't even recognize who we are as an individual? So how can we recognize each other as a collective when we can't even see who we are as an individual? In fact, how can we expect our brother and sister to love us when they don't even love themselves? I want you to meditate on that for one moment. How can somebody lost give you direction? How can we expect a person who don't understand to understand? They must first come to an understanding in order for them to understand. And sometimes we teach things like as if though we've never been there before. I had to be very careful with my presentation. I listen to myself. I go back and I listen to my videos when I play my videos. And I must admit, I said, you know what? I said, I really have to humble myself in my delivery. Because Amar, once upon a time, answered to Alton D. Walden III. And once upon a time, I did not even recognize that I had a European name. I never paid no attention to the fact that I didn't know where I came from. I'm talking about specifically. Once I had a dialogue with my elders in my family, I began to come to find out exactly where we come from. That's how I found out that, I'm a part of the Akan people. I'm Asante. We also Yoruba. Okay, so it is me talking to some of my elders where I found this information out, right? Once upon a time, I paid no attention to the fact that I was out of my mind, like literally out of my mind, because I wasn't subscribing to our spirituality. At one time, I was, religious. Okay, for those who don't know, I'm a former bishop. Okay, once upon a time, I was this person who had a religious mind. I was borderline spiritual because I seen the supernatural things happening and things of this nature. So I seen signs, wonders, and miracles. Some people may think that you are Looney Tune, that you're cuckoo or bananas, whatever labeling you want to put on it, because of some of the things that I've seen. But I've seen some supernatural things that those who are not there yet will not even believe. They'll think that I'm talking about a sci-fi movie or it's fiction. Okay? What I'm saying is that a lot of our people's minds are not ready for certain things yet. Our minds are not ready for certain things yet. And we have to understand that first the ground must be tilled. Then you can plant a seed. Some of our hearts are too hard. Some of our people are closed-minded. And it's because of the things that they have experienced in life. And we have to understand that their heart has to be fertile. Their mind has to be fertile. Whenever you're teaching somebody, they have to be in a state of mind. And their heart has to be prepared to be able to receive what you're saying to them. And if they are not in a mental state, and if their heart is not in the right state to be able to receive what you're saying to them, it's not going to penetrate because they're not ready to receive the information yet. You have to learn how to share information with people who are like-minded. You cannot expect somebody who's blind to see. You can't expect somebody who's ignorant to know. You can't expect somebody who is accustomed to thinking and living a certain way to just stop, drop, and roll. Evolving is a process. I want to utilize an analogy about a stairway. A stairway, you have numerous steps. Now, some of us, we're so advanced that we may skip a couple steps, you know what I'm saying? But we still have another step to be able to take to get to the top. There's a step to evolution. First, myself, I'm going to use myself as an example. First, I had to unlearn the falsehoods that I learned. I had to continuously study. I had to continuously deny myself saying certain things, doing certain things. And as I began to pray and meditate and study, sometimes I mistakenly said certain things out of my mouth. Like, for instance, I would still say black, things of that nature, and which we know that's really a color, we would really say ethnicity, we would say race and all these things, but all those things honestly are man-made. You know what I'm saying? Color is man-made when it comes to identifying a human being. All right? There were certain things I had a habit of saying. There were certain things I had a habit of doing. And it took me some time for me to get broken out of these particular habits. I had a problem with saying I'm a God. Okay, because there was only one God, but yet even in the Bible it says, know ye not that ye are gods. It's in the Old Testament, it's in the New Testament. I had to understand what that actually meant. Certain terminologies. And so when you get a pushback from a religious person, we start talking about that religious person like a dog. And then you have some calling them these niggas, and I'm thinking to myself like, wait a minute, time out, man. Time out. Hold on, wait a minute. Once upon a time, not long ago, those of us who have evolved in our mind, we used to think like that. And when we start talking that way, I want to bring this to your attention that it looks like you still have some more growing to do too as well. Because mockery is not the way that we handle things as mature people. And a lot of times, a lot of us, we're talking African, we're dressing African, but we're not treating people like we're African. Because if you are anything like myself who has had a true interaction with a true elder, okay, and true people who have submitted themselves to the spiritual realm, to the laws of the universe, to peace and love, I have never heard any of these individuals click off safe and come unglued and start disrespecting their elders, their peers, the younger generation, or their fellow man in general. I have never heard a mature Baba Luau ever talk or conduct himself in a certain way. I have never heard a queen mother who is truly rooted and grounded in her spirituality. I have never heard them degrade or talk about their fellow man in any kind of derogatory, demeaning manner. I've never heard this. Some of us, we have a form of African character. We have a form of African character. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of us truly have not been transformed. We just have, you know, like in the Bible, there's a verse that says you have a form of godliness. Some people have this form of spirituality, but when you listen to them talk, when you watch how they conduct themselves, you will not be able to even tell that they've been transformed. Some of them still talk like they're in the streets. And I don't believe in this saying ghetto, because to me that's not a true identifier. The person is still riotous. The person still is ill-tempered. The person still has a foul mouth. And so this still goes on in the spiritual community as well. And let me go ahead out here and look at some of the statements that some of you guys are making, because I don't want this to be a monologue. I want this to be a dialogue as well. Okay? But this is just something that's been on my heart, and I just wanted to address these things. I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. My cousin, Queen Ann Walden, I love you, cousin. Queen Kia, thank you for tuning in. King Al Burgess, thank you for tuning in. Michael Neil Shabazz. Raul, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. My good brother, Dr. Tracy Nichols, thank you for tuning in, who's a counselor. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying. I want some feedback from you. I want to be able to read what you're saying, because I know I don't know everything. I want to share whatever wisdom you have as well. And that's another problem. We just wanted to be all about us. We're not really about us, actually. We're about I instead of we. We're about me instead of ours. Okay, Queen Mother Rhonda said, we all have to unlearn and study on a continuous basis to be approved for oneself first. Yes, we all have to change our thinking. The old falls away. I just can't relate to some in a negative light. Being raised in Catholicism and having a certificate in theology, I will not put down others that are not there. Thank you, Mother. That is awesome. Also, I want to say to our elder, Jerry McIntosh, who's doing great things in the community, thank you for tuning in. Baba, he said great. Okay, my good friend back in North Carolina, my good brother Keith Curry, been a friend for New Year. Thank you for tuning in. All right, Raul, he said, change the mindset and everything else will follow in a better direction. I totally agree. Okay, Dr. Tracy Nichols, he said, you're on point, bro. Love this teaching. Thank you, family. I appreciate that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in right now, family. If you have anything to say, please feel free to say it. In fact, if you'd like to come on the program too, if you want to come on and say something, if you would like to have some space on this video, feel free. I'll bring you on. If your camera is available, I have no problem with doing that. If you like to expound too, please come on and share your wisdom. Again, I want this to be a dialogue, not a monologue. So please share your thoughts. I love to hear from you on this morning. Queen Andrea, thank you for tuning in. Okay, family, I'm gonna tell you, my good brother Dorset, thank you for tuning in. King, I appreciate you, man. We was in the Marine Corps together, man. Appreciate you, brother. All right, so I want to go back to what I was talking about. You know, from what I've been seeing, because I've been walking the spiritual path now for a few years now. Okay, and what I noticed is, and I'm gonna just tell you the truth. You know, some people, they went from one prison to another prison. And a lot of times what I'm noticing is, if you don't subscribe to what another person subscribes to, some of these people, they literally talk bad about you. You know, they question your character. They put you on the chopping block. If you're not calling everybody a cracker, or, you know, if you're not using a bunch of profanity, or if you're not walking around with a gun, if you're not wearing red, black, and green colors, you know, if you're not dressing like an African like myself, modern day African attire, you know, we have a lot of dogma going on. Okay, it's a lot of opinion going on. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us, we talk like as if though what we say is the principles of life for everybody. If they don't agree with us, they're wrong. If they're not talking the way that we're talking, they're wrong. If they're not dressing the way we're dressing, they're wrong. If they're not driving what we think they should drive, they're not worth listening to. If they don't live in the house that we think they should live in, we don't want to listen to them. And this is not wise. It's not very wise. It's sad that people don't know wisdom when they hear it. Why do I have to drive a Bentley before you listen to me? You know, this is sad. My queen and I, we're serial entrepreneurs. We own multiple properties. This is me not boasting. I'm just sharing something with you. A person's spirit should be in a place where if they hear wisdom, they'll be able to accept it from a child. If a drunk man told me, son, and matter of fact, not a if, this actually happened. So let me correct myself. This actually happened to me. I was a teenager walking down the street back in Rochester, New York. I'll never forget this. It was a drunken man. He was a drunkard. He was out there. This man, he came up to me and he seen me. And he was just a little drunk. He wasn't, you know, sloppy drunk, but he was still intoxicated. This man came up to me with tears in my eyes. He said, young man, he said, I see you every day. He said, you dress well. He said, every time I talk to you, you're very respectful. And this man was crying when he said, this is a true story. He said, son, he said, I remember, he said, I could have had everything I wanted. He said, I was doing good in my life. He said, and you know what, y'all got to forgive me because this is the truth. I can't lie. I'm actually getting a little emotional. I'm going to tell you the truth. Because this was one of our elders. Oh man, just give me a minute. He said, but I started doing drugs. And he said, I started doing alcohol. And he said, I messed my life up. He said, I messed up my marriage. He said, I lost my children. He said, son, he said, don't you ever get drunk. He said, don't you ever do drugs. He said, keep doing what you're doing, son. Now, why wouldn't I listen to wisdom? Why wouldn't I listen to the words come out of his mouth? Because he was a drunkard at that time. What I heard was a wise man who cared enough about me to make sure that I didn't become what he became. A lot of us, we are too judgmental. We are too high-minded. You don't know what somebody going through. You want to challenge a brother and sister because they can't donate, but they can donate their time. They can come out there and help you out. But you too busy judging them and criticizing them. You don't even know what their situation is. But we're so quick to open up our mouth and judge our brother and our sister. Now listen, back to the subject at hand. I'm getting ready to close here in a minute. What about character, family? What is the point of going over to Africa and seeing pyramids? What is the point of you learning an African language? What is the point of you dressing like an African and you don't have no respect for your fellow man? What about Uwa Pele, Yoruba for character? What about character? Some of us, we're so focused on what somebody has. We're focused on the car that they're driving, the way that they dress, how much money that they have. And we totally overlook character. There's a lot of good leaders out here, men and women alike, but they get overlooked because we've been brainwashed to overlook good character. We think that making a bunch of noise and using a bunch of profanity and calling each other nigger is the way. Using racial slur is the way. I've literally heard somebody who is supposed to be one that's a pillar in the community call a fellow sister a bitch. And then he called one of the young people a dummy. And I'm like, this is absurd. With an African t-shirt on, with an African flag on, calling our sister a bitch, and this is supposed to be an elder in the community, calling our sister a bitch and calling a young man dumb. Listen, your knowledge means nothing. And listen, this may be a Bible verse, but it's still relevant. You can speak with tongues like an angel. You can give to the poor. You can have numerous degrees on your wall. But if you have not love in your heart, when you talk, you like a tingling brass in a cymbal. You're just making noise. It doesn't matter how many followers you have following you. If your words are not seasoned with love, you're just making noise. You can know an African language. You can have 20 African countries under your belt. You can dress like an African. You can raise your fist up in the air. But if you do not walk in love, you are making noise. And you have a form of knowledge. You have a form of African pride. But you truly don't have Africa in your heart. No, my dear brother and sister, you missed it. You missed it. You missed it. If you don't walk in love, you're just making noise. If we don't love each other, hear me now. If we don't love each other, we're just making a bunch of noise, and we are hypocrites. You're just acting. You just want to be heard. You just want to be seen. You just want photo opportunities. You just want your name in lights. If you don't have love, everything that you're doing is not worth nothing. What manner of spirit are you in? Where is the love at? Where is the love? If you're not taking care of home first, brother, then you're a hypocrite. If you're not taking care of your children, but you're going out to the juvenile detention centers, you're a hypocrite. If you don't respect your elders, then you're a hypocrite. If you don't respect your young people, then you're a hypocrite. If you don't respect your peers, then you're a hypocrite. I don't care how many photos of Africa you have. I don't care how many so-called master teachers you stand next to. I don't care how much sage that you burning, candles and incense that you're lighting. If after the day, if you don't have love, then everything that you're doing is not worth anything. And what you're doing is you're just going through the motions. If you don't see your brother as your brother because they're wearing a collar shirt, then you have a problem. If you don't see your brother and sister and your elders as your brothers and sisters and elders because they don't wear red, black, and green all the time, brother and sister, you have a problem. You have a heart problem. You have a mind problem. And you need to truly go back to the altar and get broken. And you need to ask whomsoever it is that you calling upon. Oshun is love. Okay? I said is love. Okay? And you need to call upon them, and you need to ask them to create in you a clean heart and renew within you the right spirit. Because if your speech is harsh and you using profanity towards your brother and sister because they don't agree in what you agree with, then brother and sister, you're not broken enough. How can a broke person heal another broke person? How can you help somebody else get in their right mind when you still out of your mind, when you still talking like you back in the streets? How you going to help clean somebody else up and your life's still a mess? It's more to it than you dressing like an African, than you talking the African language, than you quoting all these former scholars, you know, that are ancestors now. It don't matter if you have a red, black, and green flag in your house. It don't matter because you got African earrings in your ear. It don't matter how many trips you took over to the continent of Africa. If you are not walking in love, then everything that you're doing is vanity. It's all vanity. You're just going through the motions. A lot of us really don't know, honestly, what true African culture look like, because we haven't really met those who are real. They walk in the spirit of love. They're people that are upright, and you will never hear them talk about their brother and their sister like that. You will never see the disrespect of elders like that. You're talking to a man who is connected to people who were born and raised in Africa, okay? Who was raised in Ifa. And I have never heard them talk or act like that. Uwa Pele. Good character. That's what we need to focus on today. We need to focus on how we treat each other. We're so focused on what the races is doing to us, but how do we treat each other though? That's the question. How do we treat each other? You hear that all the time. Oh, they're talking to us like we're dogs. We talk to each other like we're dogs. We're calling each other bitches. We're calling each other niggers. We're calling each other hoes. We're stealing from each other. We're robbing from each other. We're selling drugs to each other. We're pushing alcoholic content, drug content, whorish content. We're pushing violence. No, love need to start. Charity starts at home. How about how do we treat each other? I've literally seen my friend Dr. AK, who is from Ghana. He take care of his father. His father lives with him. His father is not well, and he takes care of his father. I've seen the way he takes care of his father. I've seen the way, and they're both from Africa. They both from Ghana. I've seen the way he talks to his father, and how he treats his father, and how he feeds his father, and how he tends to his father. How many of us do that for our elders? How many of us has committed? And my auntie, she takes care of my grandmother in Texas. She said, I'm not putting my mother in a nursing home. I'm going to take care of my mother. What I'm talking about here this morning, family, I'm talking about love. Love. This is what I'm talking about. Listen, because of the lack of love, this is the reason why fathers leave their children. Because of the lack of love, this is the reason why you have spousal abuse. Because of the lack of love. This is the reason why men won't stand up in their communities and fight for their people, because of the lack of love. The lack of the love for themselves too. When are we going to figure this out? We got to go back to moral principles. I've said this before, and I will say it again. A lot of times people want the respect of an elder, but you're not carrying yourself like an elder. You want somebody to listen to you, but look at the way you talk to people. I seen a mother smoking drugs with her own daughter. I seen a mother twerking with her own daughter. We're talking about character here. We're talking about morals. We're talking about moral teachings. And the problem in our community, it has to go beyond teaching about African tradition. We have to start getting into the culture. And the culture consists of morality, morals, how we talk, how we act, how we treat each other, being accountable to one another. Ujima, collective work and responsibility, making our brothers, sisters' problems our problems and solving them together. Only love can drive a people to do that. And see, until we understand love, we will never get where we need to be at in any community. Hear me now. We talk about creating programs. How are people going to come together and they don't even love each other? How? One of the principles of Kwanzaa is Imani, I-M-A-N-I, Swahili for faith. How are we going to have faith in one another and we can't even love each other? Love will persuade somebody to trust in you because they know that you love them. Do you understand? So how can we come together without love? Love will lead me to believe that you are trustworthy because your actions, love not in word, but also your deeds. Your actions will show me that you love me. How you talk to me, how you treat me, and also how you treat other people. Because some people, they cool because that person treat them right, but they treat somebody else like dirt. No, 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 no. 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 My brother and sister, I submit this unto you today, and I put this on the table, and I ask you to go to the mirror of truth and examine yourself. Where is your love? That's it. I'm done. Thank you. I appreciate everybody tuning in on today. We have to go back to love, man. We have to. And just because I may be younger doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. That's another problem. Elders, we got to do better in this community. We got to learn how to listen to each other. It's too much over talking each other. It's too many people wanting to talk. When is people going to learn how to listen? So many people want to talk. But when is people going to learn how to listen? Let no man despise your youth. It don't matter because I'm younger. It doesn't mean I'm stupid or I'm ignorant because I'm younger than you. And this is another problem. I faced this before. Don't want to listen because I'm younger than them. A lot of our elders, they don't even know where they come from. Well, we always did it this way. Boy, I've been doing this as long as you've been living. So what? You're doing it wrong. I'm not an African American. You calling us African American. You calling us black. I'm not black. I'm Asante. I'm a Khan. I'm not none of that. I'm for doggone sure not an American. Just because I was born here, I am what my bloodline is. My ancestors came from Ghana. They came from, you know what I'm saying, the Akan people. The Asante people. That's what I am. I know what I am. I'm not African American. So it don't matter. We got to get away from this. Oh, we've been doing it this way for, so what? It's not effective. It's not working. Deal with that. Be humble and listen. And this is another reason why young people are having so many problems, because adults, they always want to talk to them like they don't know what they're talking about. Learn how to listen to these young people. Because by listening to them, then you can find out what we need to do to bring healing to the younger generation if you just be quiet for a minute. And stop talking so much and learn how to listen. It's the ego, man. It's that lower nature. It's too much pride in us. We got to go back to our African culture. I know what I'm talking about. I seen the way true, not us over that was born over in America. I'm talking about true African people. You know what I'm saying? We are true Africans. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying who was raised in the culture, and I see how they interact with each other. And it's for doggone sure not the way Africans in America do it. I'm telling you right now. We think, a lot of us, we think we got a hold of African culture. No, we don't. We still act like these Westerners. We still act just like these Westerners. A lot of us don't have pure African culture. Well, I tell you what, go to my friend channel called Search for Heru. And I'm going to add his link, and you're going to see the way true African tradition works. Not over here people making these things up, all this stuff that don't have nothing. No, true African, listen, Asante culture is my culture. Traditionally, if you want to be frank, you talking about antiquity, clothing of antiquity, I would technically be wearing today kente cloth. But this is modern day Kebalan attire. Know what true African culture is. It's beyond a flag. You got to understand that. True African culture is a way of life. It is true African tradition birthed out of Africa like Ifa, voodoo. That is true African tradition. This stuff we come up with, let it be, the truth be told, it's not even African. We think because we made it up, it's African. It is not an African tradition. A lot of this stuff is Americanized. The way we talk to each other, the way we treat each other, it is not African. It is straight up European. It comes in your DNA from the way the slave master talked to our elders and our ancestors. That is not the way true Africans, hear me now, true African, now I'm not going to say true Africans, let me correct myself. That is not the way mature African people deal with each other. So we think we know, but we don't know. And that goes for older people too. They think they know, but they really don't know. They just want to brag and boast about who they know and stuff like that. So what? I've seen true African culture in its form without it being tainted. And I'm talking about people who grew up in Nigeria. I got friends straight from Nigeria. I got friends straight from Ghana. So I'm not talking, I'm telling you what I know. And I'm talking about the ones who was raised in their culture, who was not colonized. This is the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones who preserved their culture and their tradition, who's been raised in antiquity. Tradition from antiquity. Not this so-called brought over here. And I had a friend who went over to Africa and he brought it in its purest form. And this is one reason why I'm bringing out this message. This is something for us to really think about. Study African tradition in its purest form. Not just made up stuff. African tradition in its purest form, in its true essence. And you will find spirituality, you will find love, you will find peace. And that's what you will find. You will find respect. You will find initiation into manhood and womanhood. You will see the way the women truly carry themselves in Ifa and Voodoo. They're not some foul mouth, loud mouth, nigger, profanity calling, individuals. That's not the way we move. That is not the way a true queen mother conduct herself. That is not the way a true Ohini, a true king, conducts himself. Or Ohima. That is not the way they conduct themselves. It is not. You will not see the Uni of Ife talking like that. Hear me again. You will not see the Uni of Ife talk like that or act like that. You will not. Okay, family, I just had to drop that jewel on you. I'm done. I know I said I was done earlier. I need to stop saying that. Because every time I say that, somebody say something, I start talking again. But this time I'm really done. So I appreciate it, man. Thank everybody for listening in and tuning in. I just wanted to share that wisdom with you on today. It's just some things for you to go back and think about. All of us, even myself included. I go back and I listen to these videos and I analyze my own life. And I'm guilty of all of the above. I'm guilty of all of the above. I really am. So I had to go back and I had to examine me and I had to work on me. And hopefully you'll go back and you'll do the same in your life. Let's grow together. Spiritually, let's learn together. Appreciate you.